let's get our frames. Let's get our frames. This is 700 HB1. Let's go get the frames out. Okay. And then we're going to need the lower base tray, our bearing blocks. So let's check out our frames here. We've got our frame. That's there. Okay. So here's the lower base, 700 HB8. 700 HB8. Tray we don't need right at this moment. Alright, inside that bag there was 3 components. This is a tray for your batteries. This is an aluminum tray, nice, stiff and rigid. Again, we'll go over how the mounting of your batteries and things go, but basically we're going to utilize these slots there for our Velcro harness, and also a piece of Velcro will go here to fix your battery. So that's what this is for. We'll put that aside for now. We have, what we're looking at though right now is the 2 other components, which is the lower frame and also the ESC tray that goes in the back rearmost part of the frame. So we're going to go ahead and get the other parts that we need, and now we're going to need to look at some aluminum parts here to put the frame together, which has lots of nuts and bolts and screws. So let's pop this bag open. This is the 700 HB3. So for this phase we're going to need to look at a couple things here. There's our cyclic, here's our servo, or excuse me, here's our actual bearing box for our frame assembly. This is for the actual motor shaft right below the pinion. Here's the upper and lower main bearing blocks. So there's that. Nicely packaged there. And then we have our motor block here. It's for our motor. Then we have items for our frame assembly. These are some aluminum blocks that we're going to probably utilize right now. And here's a bag of screws, 700 HB3A. Alright, it's probably going to have all the little things that we need. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Again, that's why it's good to have a towel to work on, or a rug and a nice table that's open and free, so that way you're not doing it. Make sure you get all your little washers out of your bags. Let's open up this one here. This is our frame, parts for the frame here. Put this together. Alright, when you reference your manual, you're going to want to take a look at all the parts. And so before I get started here, I'm going to go ahead and sort out my screws here. That way I know what I have, and when I'm doing my build, it's just that much faster here. So let's go ahead and sort out these balls. Okay. We have 2 long balls. We have 6 of these shorter balls here. Let's go get that out of the way. We have some pan screws. A couple of pan screws. Let's see here. Take those pan screws over here. And then you'll notice on these hex nuts here, they have shoulders on them. It's a nice thing. These here. Alright. Got quite a few of those. I'm sure we'll need it. Then you got these shims or spacers. That'll be used for shimming this out later on when we have the frame together. So that's what that's for. Alright, so when you're looking at your manual, at this point you could 700E There's 4 screws. They're 10 millimeter, 4 millimeter by 10, and they have washers here with 4 screws. That's why it's always good to have your manual handy and reference your manual when you're doing your build. Again, I know this is a 700 size helicopter, so probably pretty advanced. But if you're not and you haven't built a lot of helicopters, again, always look at your manual to make sure that things are going as you anticipate there. So again, these are 4 by 10 millimeter screws, 4 of them to secure the motor, the amount of torque and power we're throwing at the gear train. Alright, we have our grub screws here. These right now, I am only going to start them. I'm not going to actually put Loctite on them. Reason is I want to be able to make adjustments to the pinion once we get the frame set up here. Let's see. There is a slot on this shaft here to enable us to have that flat spot kind of guide us to where the depth should be. So let's see if we can feel it. And it allows it to move up and down, you know, within that range. Let's see. It's too loose. Again, I don't want it to be able to twist or turn because I want to have that position once I build the frames, but I do want to be able to make the adjustment. So you got to make a mental note as you progress that that is loose, okay? So that is loose, it's not tight, and we'll tighten that down when it's appropriate there. So let me just a little bit snugger. Yeah, alright. So that's that's done. And let's get to the frame and these little blocks that you see here. Alright, there's a total of 4 of these smaller ones and one of the larger ones that goes in the aft end of your frame. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out, take a look. Alright. Let's put that there. These pieces are going to go. Put this here like this. Okay. So for the center section, we're going to use those socket screws for the center here. So let's go ahead and get some Loctite on these guys. And put that there. A little Loctite. Alright, we're doing the lower frame assembly here. And we're going to use the pan screws. Okay, we're building the lower frame, lower part of the frame, the lower base plate here. This is the front side with the notch. The back side's straight. We're going to use the pan screws, and we're inserting our aluminum blocks here. And right now we're doing the pan screws into the lower mounts here. So the notches are facing outward of this lower block. We're going to get these secured in the center. I've already put some Loctite on these pan screws, so we should be good to go here. Tighten these up, and then set the threads. These on here. Okay, on the rear part of the frame here, this gets tied in with your landing gear. The front end, same thing happens here with that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a frame, and I'm going to get the right side of the frame here, and we'll stick that right here. We'll get these screws started here. Put that in here. These other screws here. Let's get the appropriate size wrench. Little Loctite. And let's get another one here. Alright. Again, this is the 700 V2. Putting the frame assembly together. So if you're just checking out the video right now and just seeing what it's about, we're doing the frame assembly. You should be looking at page 7 of your instruction manual. And we've got all the parts laid out here, the motor, frames, bearing blocks, and all the things that you need for doing the frame assembly here. So let's put that there. Okay. Alright, so we have that. And let's put these screws here in the center section. Okay. Alright, if you look at the manual too, it also asks you to make sure the stuff's 90'd out. So when you're building this, you know, put it on a flat surface and check to make sure that you're 90. So you want to make sure that everything's true. That way your bearings run true, and all your shaft, your main shaft, and the assemblies here, you know, there's no binding or anything like that within the frame. Alright, so now we're going to need the upper and lower bearing blocks here. The nuts or bolts are on here, so let's go ahead and pull these off. And we'll insert these. And you're going to want to note the bearing orientation. Outer, inner. And what you're going to look for is the opening of the bearing, the face of the bearing. And on the other side you'll see that it's captured. This side here. So when you're building this, the bearing face is outward on the top bearing block here, like that. And then on the lower bearing block, you're going to want the bearing to be facing downward, like that. Alright, let me repeat that. On the bearing block location and the bearing orientation, you're going to want your bearing, the outer part of the bearing that's exposed, facing downward, So it's the opening is on the bottom here, because actually your main gear is going to be right down below here, holding that bearing in place, and therefore this top piece here is going to prevent the bearing from being able to move upward. And then on the top side here, you have the main shaft pressing on this bearing, getting pulled, holding this bearing. So this, again, this bearing is facing outward or up. All right, so let's go ahead and pop this in. Let me get the other one too. Do it at the same time here. Get both of those on there. If you're going to be building this in the evenings at home, again, you want to make sure you got a pretty good amount of space. I'd say at least maybe a 2 by 6, 2 by 4 area to work within, and that way you can leave the parts out if you have the space. If not, you have a board that is about that size that you can pick it up and then put it away, so that way nobody messes with any of the bolts or anything like that. It gets dropped off the table and you lose a screw or something like that. So just make sure you have an area to work in that you can leave it unattended and not have to worry about things going missing on you. So get that started. Again, bearing facing. Also in the frame, there's notches to aid in alignment of your bearing blocks. So it keys into the frame itself. And once they're tightened down, that actually creates rigidity in the frame. So let's snug those up. Pretty straightforward so far, so hopefully you see where we're at. We have our rotor head, got the makings of a frame assembly here, and we got our lower bearing block, which goes right here on this. Tip right here, let me point this out. When you do install your motor as well as this lower motor shaft support, make sure the pinion is not touching this inner race. Okay, make sure it's not touching that inner race. If you put it so it's touching on there, what will happen is it'll prematurely wear out that bearing and cause you some problems later on. So give it a few thousandths gap, just a hairline gap. Check your gear mesh, of course, but try and give it at least a hairline, crack there, at the very least, so it's not riding on this inner race as far as the actual pinion itself. The shaft, we want to support the shaft, but we don't want the pinion itself riding on the bearing. It'll also, cause it to heat up and other things, and that's, you don't want it to wear out prematurely. So anyways, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And as far as the bolts for this little guy here, we're going to be using these cap head screw bolts that are right here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And let's put this facing upward, bearing facing up. Put a little double Loctite here. And I'll transfer some of that right onto this here. Okay. Right there. Good. There we go. Alrighty. Remember where your speed control is going to be. So if your speed control is going to be mounted up front, you can do that. Or if you choose to have it mounted in the back, you can do that as well. It's up to you. I'm going to set this one up so that it's facing aft. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in right now. We'll utilize these large screws here. And right now I'm not putting Loctite on these bolts, so I can do some fine tuning adjustment later on. I'm just going to snug it up and not put Loctite on these right now. But I do recommend that you put Loctite on them once everything is finalized as far as on your layout and you're ready to go. So that's how that looks inside the frame. Again, you want that pinion so it is not pressing against that lower bearing. So make sure that that's not pressing there, okay? And that's going to help you out. Got your wires facing back. Alright, so that's that there. Now, we have one other support that we need to insert here, which goes right here. Let me get that. And that's going to go, where's that post? It's going to go here. And that is going to use this screw. Smaller screw here. Put a little tab. And do this well. Kind of have this apart so it's easier. Stick that through there. Cross frame stiffener there. And alright. So there's that. Now we have this piece here. We're going to go ahead and insert that in the frame. It's a nice tight press fit. You got to press it in there. And once you tighten up the frames, it will snap into play there. There you go. Alright. So that's how you see the frame there with the bearings in place for the right side of the frame. Alright, let's we got our bolts there for the other side here, so let's go ahead and keep that pressed in. And now we're going to do the left side of the frame. And let's look for the canopy attachments here. Let's see where those are before we go too much farther. Let's see, canopy attachments. Okay, you're going to find the canopy attachment in 700 HB9. So we're going to go ahead and open this one up. Pull this out. Here's our canopy attachments. Here's our front tray there. Some of our servo locations. Let's open up this bag. And again, this is for the canopy supports. Okay. Alright, these can go here for now. Got 2 long and 2 short. Alrighty, so for the back of the frames, we're going to use the longer posts here, 2 longer ones, and that goes right here on the frame, right below the slot in the frame here. So that's where this is going to be the longer one. And again, we're going to use these screws here. Let me put this aside, a little Loctite. Alright, and now we're going to get the short. We're going to get some Loctite on it. And the short is going right here, right next to that slot in the frame where your Velcro goes. If you're utilizing Velcro to hold your battery in position, you can utilize that. Alright. Let me grab my pliers. I want to tighten that up just a little bit more. So, just like that. Over here, same thing. Tight. Alright. So that's that side of the frame. That's our right side of the frame. We got that. Now let's get our carbon plate back in position. Okay. And then let's get the other side of the frame here. Should lock in pretty well. Let's do these lower supports here. This here. Alright. Key that in. Okay. You can see you got a nice modular piece right now of the frame assembly here. So, which is really nice. Before I get too far though, I have this other side I want to put these posts on. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take care of this business. Long post again on the back. And let's get this one. Short post front here. Let's tighten these guys down. Again, get my little plier here. Let's see, that doesn't get in there so easily. So let me see. I use my longer screw. There we go. And let's go ahead and tighten that down. And same on this side here. Okay, so that's tightened up. Now let's go ahead and put the carbon tray back in place here. Alright, that's all fitting nice. Let's check it out. Okay, we're looking good. No twists in the frame for some reason. Shouldn't be. And now we're gonna go ahead and do the upper bearing block here. Go ahead and put our screws in here. Alright. At home, when you're doing your build, you know, you can have some music playing, or you know, have a beverage out, relax, do it at your leisure. You don't need to rush your assembly. Just take your time. Once you get it all built up, I think you'll be really happy with the end results of the product. Because once we do all our building and get our rods and everything working correctly, pretty much ready to go. This helicopter is a great flying machine. As you saw, I had the other 700E there that you saw that I had on the table at the intro of the video here, and it's just a great flying machine. It's very powerful, super fast. Man, I can't say enough about it. It just flies well. All right, let's put these here. Again, I'm not going to Loctite on this side for the motor. For reasoning, I may need to make some adjustments or anything like that. So again, I'm not going to use Loctite at this point, but I am going to secure these screws to make sure that the frame's nice and solid here. So, go ahead and do that. Frame pieces we want to install at this time. Let me see this in here. But then we're going to use a self-tapping screw for this, for your servo retainer. Okay. It's a pan type screw. Snug, just snug. Okay, you're using self-tapping screws here, so make sure you just snug it up. All right. So if you're using a power tool for your assembly process, be very careful when doing this procedure. You could inadvertently over tighten. So make sure that you don't do that. Just do it. Just get it snug. That's it. So Alright, so that's the frame as it sits right now. Got just a few more screws here and we should be on our way. I'm going to move on to the next part, which is the front frame assembly here. We'll add this. That piece plugs in right there like so. Starting to look like a complete machine almost there. Let's get all our screws all together and pull this stuff forward. Okay. And again, let's take a look at our screws here. Clear out some of these other screws so they're out of the way. Alright. To point something out to you. It's another common mistake which we've introduced here. On these posts here, you want to make sure that you're using the pan screws and not the 3x6 screw. Alright, so there's a reason, and I'm going to show you right now the reason. And the reason is, put those in there so you can see that. The reason is that your batteries won't clear. So make sure that you use the pan screws inside of your frame here. Let me get this. Show you right now. A little Loctite. Go like that. And so you're going to want to use those pan screws inside of the frame. Push these in. Okay. Again, this is a common mistake. We get calls on this at the shop, and from time to time say, "Oh, I'm missing some screws." Well, if you do that, where I had those screws here, you notice that I'm missing 2 screws here. These 2 screws here, well, that's where they came from. The front of your tray here, where you have the small standoff, if you will, is where you need to utilize the pan screws. And the other reason why you need to do that is due to the fact that your batteries, in order to traverse through the frame, easily slide in and out, you need to have the pan screws here. If you don't, it's going to be problematic getting your batteries in and out of the radio tray, or should I say the battery tray. So make sure that that's something that you do check out when you're doing your build, and that way you know that your batteries are not going to get caught up in your frame. Okay, so let's turn this back. So if you're missing a screw, you may have utilized it in the wrong location. Alright? So it's not that the kit necessarily is missing a bolt or nut or something like that, you might have inadvertently put it in the wrong position. So this 3x6 goes on the lower part of the frame here. That's where it's designed to go. And your pan screw you want to utilize inside here. Okay? Again, that's for making sure that your battery's clear. You want to make sure your battery's clear, for sure. Alright, let's put that on there. Alright. Nice and smooth, not going to touch your batteries. Checking everything out. Looks pretty good right there. Alright, now we have the inserts and these long screws here. These inserts, long screws, go like this, into this piece of rubber here. Let's get pushed through. You'll see what those are for here. Just a second. If you're wondering what they're for, they're basically like dampeners for your canopy, so it's not touching the side frame there. Alright, these go right here, frame, and these dampeners are going to go into that frame. Okay. Tighten that up. Nice. Now again, I find myself with 2 pan head screws, and I know where they are, the other screws. They're actually right here, inside the frame. Again, when you're doing your build, you want to make sure that you utilize the screws in the correct location. Alright, the 3x6s, the pans could work equally as well up front where we're going with these, but the pan is what was designed to be used in this location. So I just want to let you know, I'm showing you. And if you do have to do it, this is what you do. You're doing what I'm doing now. Basically taking those other screws out from their location and then putting the pan screw where it needs to go. So we'll put this back in. Not a big deal. Tighten that up. Let's get that level. So when we're doing our canopy, it's level, easier on us. Alright, that's tight. Let's grab the other side here. Take that off. Again, we're going to put the pan on the inside. Yeah, so I got my screws that I need for the actual front tray there. And the pan screw that is designed for that inner part of the frame will be utilized correctly. So let's do that. Let's pull that out. Put that in. Let's get this pan screw in here. Alright, got our pan in there, 2 pans, 4 pans actually, in the front and the back. So, just a note, look for the pan screws. They're 3x6 for your standoffs, for your canopy mounts. Again, 3x6 pan screws on the inside. Protect the batteries, and that's what's going to be utilized up here. And because you need these screws for the front of this battery tray system that's on the front here. Yeah, if you have any questions when you're assembling your TREX 700, feel free to, shoot us an email. You can shoot me an email. It's jeff@aligncrusa.com. Be more than happy to assist you. But I think you see that this helicopter is pretty straightforward. Aside from those 2 screws that are inadvertently used in the wrong location, it's very straightforward. Alright, so let's make sure all our screws stay on the bench here. We don't want to lose anything. Tools do a tidy up. Keep your stuff clean. Alright, we're looking good. There's our frame.